end of the night in the back corner. And this will be a little bit of a longer set, so get comfortable. Thank you.
We don't know how long it's going to be, because if they hate me, I'm not going to be up here long.
Okay. You want a chair? Or you want? All right.
How you doing? Turn the monitors off, please. Who's in the sound booth? Can we cut the monitors so I don't hear the frying? Anybody in there? How you doing? I just came from Vancouver, and they asked me last year to come to Vancouver, and they're like, oh, it's the warmer side of Canada. And I heard warmer and said yes, but I don't think I heard Canada. And I went there, and it was so cold. We really can't cut the sound in the monitors? Hold on. They're like mad loud. Nobody's in your sound? They're all. Oh. Black mother, poor black family,
kind of like bounced around because of like a whole bunch of like, you know, tragic circumstances and shit. You know, if you're black and they give you a book deal with a major publishing house, you know, like you've survived some shit. 'Cause they don't just like meet black people and be like, you have a great life. You should write a book about like how great your life is and your relationships with your family and your community. Like, we got to be so fucked up. We have to be like, you know, come from some kind of war-torn country, preferably from Africa, and then travel to like Haiti and like, you know, recreate the earthquake and then survive it. And then lose an arm and a leg or something, and then like you move to America and then you discovered the cure for cancer, and they're like, oh my God, extraordinary Negro. Here's a book. So anyways, I'm 13 here, and I'm living in a house with like, you know, I mean, Jesus is very big in Jamaica, like platinum, like, you know, just sold out, like, you know, every fucking like single is like #1 and shit, you know, like, you know, getting like EGOT and shit, like, you know, Jesus is like huge. Bigger than Beyonce even. Yeah, I mean, bigger than like present day, like in this moment, Rihanna, you know, just Jesus is like huge. So there was like Jesus, and then there was like, you know, everybody else. So one of the things that girls learn to do in church is to not be fully in their bodies and not to be fully in their sexuality, because there's so much like ideology coming at you, right? Are you familiar with this, or is it just me? Or was this only happening in Jamaica? Like, is Seattle different? Like, so LA was like Jamaica, but maybe Seattle is like more progressive and shit, you know, because there's more white people here. Yeah. That was tongue in cheek for those of you who are like feeling uncomfortable about it. Like, I like to test the temperature of white people. Like, if you can laugh about race, then chances are you can, like, you know, we can hang. But if you're like, you know, just remarkably uncomfortable and can't, like, you know, accept that like shit around race is like absurd. Anyways, it is summertime and there's nothing for me to do. By the way, I live with my great aunt, who just kind of ended up with me because she just ended up with me. Somebody left me there for 2 weeks and then just never came back. Anyways, it's summertime and there's nothing to do. My friend Natalia and Sandy have both gone away for the holidays. I don't have school, so I can't even lie to Auntie and tell her I have studying and maybe slip away to the library. The only place I'm allowed to go is church. And the only reason I actually go is to see Troy. And I have to tell you, Troy is my new boyfriend that I just had, to give some context here. So Troy is, you know, everybody starts getting boobs, you know, like all of us start getting like, you know, little feathers under our armpits and shit. And all the girls are a titter with attention over the boys. And I'm not really that interested. But I really don't want to be strange. So I'm like, I pretend to be excited and like worried, and I want a boyfriend. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need to get a boyfriend. And my friend says, yeah, you have to get a boyfriend or else you're going to look very strange. And I'm like, shit, I have to get one of them. I mean, how the fuck does one get one of them? I don't know. And she goes, well, you have to like, you know, use your hips and like your shoulders and your eyes. And I'm like, and it didn't really work, but you know. And then one day my friend Nellie says to me, I think Troy likes you. And I said, good, tell him he's my boyfriend. So I was like saved. So I'm in like a full-fledged, like, you know, 13-year-old relationship or 12-year-old relationship with Troy. So the only reason I actually go to church is to see my boyfriend Troy. But to tell you the truth, I'm getting a little tired of this. He wants to kiss me all the time, and I don't know how to tell him I don't really like it. I'm just waiting for a good time to break up with him. Because I'm figuring out, like, if I break up with him and then I tell people, like, I'm really heartbroken and I'm getting over it, I give myself a little respite. So one day we're sitting on the wall outside the church, and he tells me, we have to talk. What is it? I ask. Well, he says, We have been girlfriend and boyfriend for quite a while now, almost 3 weeks. I think it's time we make this thing more serious. What do you mean by that? He sighs, chews on a blade of grass. Well, most men would leave under these conditions. What condition? Who you calling a man? You know what I mean, Stace. Why you always have to make things so difficult? Troy, I would really appreciate it if you stop talking in parables. Leave that to Jesus. If you have something to say to me, just come right out and say it. All right, he said. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna talk plain. All right, I think it's time we do something serious. Something that will take this relationship to another level of seriousness. Troy Christie, are you saying you want to have sex? I mean, it's not only me who should want it. You should be wanting it by this. You think all this first-class kissing is for nothing? I should tell you now that the kissing just felt like a giant, wet, cold vacuum cleaner all over it. Let me tell you something, Troy. I don't have one living soul who really care about me and what I'm going to do with my life. The only person who can really do anything to save me from being worthless is me. Sex equals a baby. Baby equals no school, and no school equals worthlessness. I'm not going to have sex with you and turn worthless. But you don't have to get pregnant, he says. I mean, we could use things. It don't matter what you say. Condoms break. The pill is only 99.999% safe. And my Bible book says that I'm too young to take the pill anyways. If you had any respect for me and what I want to do with my life, you wouldn't ask me to have no sex with you. Stace, nothing. I don't even want to talk to you no more. I don't want to be your girlfriend. You go and you find somebody who will let you do what you want with her. I get it from the wall and I march into the church building. He sends me letters and messages through Nellie, but I tell her to stop delivering them. And 2 weeks later, when Nellie tells me he has another girlfriend, I comfort myself with the knowledge that she is going to be pregnant with 3 children by the time she is 18. I tell Nellie, I am now looking for a priest to be my boyfriend. She tells me she has just the right boy. Randall, her cousin, is in Montego Bay for the summer. He is a 13-year-old boy from Monroe College for Boys. Nellie says he has more than once told her that he likes me. All summer he sends me sweets and flowers. I never send anything back. And if he smiles at me, I hurry up and turn away. But on his last day in Montego Bay, he slips me a letter written on pink paper and smelling like perfume. These are actual letters that I lifted from my letterbox. Are you ready? You generation of texting to hook up and are you ready for a real love letter? You don't sound ready. Are you ready to hear a love letter? All right. This is high class shit. Just get ready. Dear Staceyann, I will always love you forever and ever and ever. You are the one true love of my whole life. Please do not worry that I'm after your stuff. I respect you and would never want to touch you down there. I will only hold your hand. I do not want to do any nasty things with you. I have enclosed my post office address. Please write and tell me if I may write to you again. I have so much to tell you about my school, Monroe College. Until we meet again, all my love, Randall. I am a little disturbed that this boy don't want to do anything nasty with me. But just in case he is lying, I pen my response on yellow paper. My friend Sandy says, Yellow is a neutral color. Dear Randall Peterkin, I am not saying that I love you or anything. Thank you for your lovely letter. Enclosed is my post office address. I do hope to hear from you again. Yours truly, Staceyann M. Chin. 2 weeks later, when his response arrives, his handwriting is small and neat, and there are little hearts drawn in red in the margin. Dearest Staceyann, the new term has started, and I know I'm going to die if I don't see you soon. I think about you after curfew every night. This boarding school for boys is unnatural. Girls give boys a reason to dream of pretty things. After supper and homework, all I do is think about you until lights out. And then I think about you after lights out. I promise you, my thoughts are pure. I think of you while I'm in the chapel. I do not ever think about you in a sexual way. I do not picture you naked. I do not think of orgasms or anything like that. I think of you fully clothed and smiling. I am yours in purity and love, Randall. I pull out my dictionary in order to respond. I want to make sure this boy knows that these interactions must remain intellectual. I believe if a boy is stimulated mentally, he will forget about the feelings of the flesh. Still, I write my response on pale purple writing paper, and I draw one flower on the edge of one page. Dear Randall, I am deeply elated that you are luxuriating in your supper and your dreams. I hope the term continues in a manner that remains beneficial to you and your scholastic pursuits. Things are excellent here. I am busy with both scholastic pursuits and spiritual matters at church. I am extending my most heartfelt gratitude for your very illuminating letters. I know the cost of stamps has become quite astronomical. If you can, please advocate for my soul when you go to chapel. I will continue to advocate for your soul to the good Lord on behalf of all the boys at Monroe College. Yours truly, Staceyann. A few weeks later, when his letter arrives, the envelope reeks of cologne. And when I open it, flower petals fall to the floor. And there are hearts and lips all over each page. Are you, somebody's like having a, oh God. Dearest Staceyann, thank you so much for writing back to me. Your letter was so very moving. But too long has gone by since I've seen you. I miss your hair and your hands and the way you use big words that no one ever understands. I miss your pretty legs. I miss every part of you, even the parts I have not seen yet. ... Yet, I must confess to you, dear Staceyann, sweet Staceyann, I have slipped and fallen off the wagon of purity. The other night, I was sleeping, dreaming of you, and I woke to find my hands inside my pajamas. I continued to pleasure myself until I fell prey to an orgasm, capital O. That orgasm, capital O, was so pleasurable and so satisfying that I know I was meant to give you your first orgasm, capital O. I hope I'm not offending you, dear Staceyann. I know you're a good Christian girl, and if you allow me to take you into the unknown forest, I promise I will definitely marry you as soon as I get old enough to do so. Please let me know your answer in the next letter. Your loving husband-to-be, Randall Peterkin. Of course, you know, I'm terribly shocked by this letter. I'm also a little bit excited. But I know I cannot allow this relationship to go any further. If we keep writing to each other, we will fall into sin. And he will think I'm the kind of girl who will have sex with him before I am married. I immediately tear a page from my notebook and scribble this note onto the lined white paper. Dear Mr. Randall Peterkin, I have no idea to which personage you were addressing your last letter, but I know it could not have been myself. I am disgusted by your suggestions and your words. I would never marry you if you were the last boy on earth. I am asking you to cease and desist from writing any letters to me. I do hope your life turns out favorable. I say farewell now because I know I will never speak to you again. Your past friend, Staceyann Chin. P.S. Please try to respect my wishes and refrain from writing to me again. You have already disrespected me so much. Randall never writes again. But Nellie tells me he always asks about me when he calls. A couple of years ago, maybe like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I am dashing through Heathrow. And Heathrow is like the worst airport with so much fucking parts and, you know, it's a horrible, horrible, horrible airport. You gotta get through security, you gotta come back again. And somebody taps me, Staceyann Chin. I was like, oh my God, Randall Peterkin. And he goes, you broke my heart. It's like 30 years later or some shit. And then, of course, like he shows me his 1,900 children in his wallet, and he's very, very, very happy and very well adjusted. And I mean, he fucking dodged a bullet, right? Like, you know, the lesbian that I became. All right, so, twice this week I've caught myself muttering, mumbling, praying for babies I have not met. This poem was written before I had my kid. My pen is angry at how much I do not know about mothering. The miles and miles I do not want to go by myself. The stories I am yet to hear, the salt tears I will have to wash myself 7 times over. Dip me river after river, I will administer ablutions. Break my skin, thin my own blood trying to make space for the things I must remember. I am exhausted by the worry, the waiting, the watching of lives seeping by. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. I suppose that rhyme once meant something to me. In another life, I believed I belonged to something bigger than my own inclinations. Gone are the days when preachers and parishioners prescribed my prejudices. I am in love with my own laughter. My hands rove my own body. My story is my own to give to whomever I choose. Whose approval do I seek now? Not a one. A lover is required to love me now, to imagine me beautiful. Novel intention to desire a woman who does not pick at you, your flesh decaying under her criticism. Mothers, daughters, sisters, grandmothers, aunts. The X chromosome is socialized to tear at itself, at others like itself, to consume the softer parts of a palm outstretched. Affirmation given, woman to woman, is rare. Between these walls where girls live, we are expected to push and pull, give birth to hard things, and when it emerges without compassion, we are forced to survive it. Twice today I have held my stomach, stuttered a prayer for a child. I keep asking a God I am not sure I believe in to send me something alive and breathing. Please, God, don't make me stop bleeding without the fruit of my own womb. And some days I can't see your little face willing me to come get you. The only problem is I'm not sure exactly what you will do to the warrior in me. Will you calm my waters? Will you pour oil on the rougher parts of me? Will you make me quiet? Will you make me passive? I do so love this fight I keep trying to put down for you. For you, I would do anything but that. How can I hold your countenance along side all the other faces I keep dreaming, redreaming in horror. How can I be soft enough to keep you nestled and remain the sharp dagger I have been nursing for years? These fears keep me from you, child. Every year I postpone your arrival. These harsh words in my mouth, these dreadful truths of girls getting trafficked and raped and bodies skewered on the stake of our politicians' ambitions, boys charred brutally into men, lies told effortlessly to babies. How do I beckon you here, child, knowing the terrors that await you? Love is sometimes not enough to keep a child safe. Often our intent falls short of its target, choke-holding victims, clueless in its cruelty. How many of us were bystanders in our parents' war? Far and wide, spans of geography, generations, time, we bear ugly marks of knives dragged, serrated across our skins in vain. We beg our fathers to apologize. Our mothers are yet to admit there was any foul play. Anything that happened, I'm not saying anything did, but if there was any tragedy, you must have brought it on yourself. No one wants to be accountable to some 30-year-old memory. An imagined sin cannot be forgiven by a God you cannot trust. So you keep your counsel and bite your lips for fear of being labeled a mad woman in the attic. You rock your old wounds to sleep, suffer the childish recollections. You speak no evil because no one wants to hear of such evils. Years later, you are huddled in a room in the South Beach, reaching for an answer you know will not come. How do I numb myself enough to bear a child, wild enough to survive me and my nights and my terrors, swishing salt like an ocean? How do I not drown in these truths I have written in a book I wish I could take back? I am not trying to count the ones I will lose, trying to keep track of the ones who maybe will stay. The numbers will follow the lines you wrote and nod, the ones who will make art of your telling, the ones who will encourage you to love a child enough to birth it. Bear your truth, child, they will say. Bear your truth, carry it honestly. And maybe if you are honest enough, your own flesh will replicate one day, and the fruit of it will flower, bloom, become more than a hesitant, unfinished prayer. How you holding up? I really am like messing about with coming home these days because I spent 26 years in New York. You know, I kind of came out as a lesbian in the late 90s in Jamaica, the mid 90s, and it was illegal. It's still illegal in Jamaica to be gay on the books. But, you know, the community there has been like pushing and making all kinds of, you know, pushing at the boundaries and making space. And that's how I find myself. Like, I have 70 acres of a farm, a community homestead that we're calling it a queer, radical, kind of like, you know, forward-thinking space. And I feed, you know, like a mass of people in the community. I provide, like, when it's school time, I give books and backpacks and provide groceries for people who don't have it. And the farm has, like, communal space where people come to farm and we trade and barter and buy and, like, you know, just provide, like, sanitary napkins and tampons for girls in the neighborhood. You know, that the neighborhood has no running water. And now it's the time of drought. And on the farm, we have these massive, like, concrete tanks where we have, like, a lot of water. So the community comes and, like, collects their water and, like, drag it over to their house. And so it's a cool little vibe there that we have there. So if any of you want to come to Jamaica, or if any of you want to help us to buy any number of things from, like, canned goods to sanitary napkins, or if you want us to help to build a room so that there will be more rooms for more people to come and help and be with the community and have a conversation, and we can learn from each other in the way that communities can, no matter where they come from, no matter what their politics are. If you put people in a room with each other, they tend to kind of just, is that my phone? Can someone stop it? Just hit stop. It's the blue phone. You're fantastic. You were just fucking on that. Anyways, all that to say that, Kindred on the Rock, which is the name of the farm, the community homestead, is where I spend so much of my time now in Jamaica. And I've gone back and I'm learning that, the community, which is like, I would say pretty homophobic. We have this like relationship where we argue about shit, but we work together still, And when somebody has a big pumpkin, they'll call me up and say, you want pumpkin? Or they'll be like, I just take out a yam, or somebody just killed chickens, you should come over and get some. I mean, there's a tentative conversation, even though anyways, you all should come. This one's called The Prodigal. And I wrote this when I was quite young, but it seems good now. It has been 8 years since my last confession. And Father, I have got to tell you, carnal sins and such, I've done much. I've touched myself many times over in places you said were wrong, and now I have returned to tell you that I've discovered that it was you who was wrong. I mean, all those years of fondling only the beads of your blushing rosary, I have become the prodigal daughter come undone, undoing the sweating damage of your words, casting off your blessings, your stony gods of chastity. I am now writing my own litanies, genuflecting to my own vain reflection, stepping away from the glass you pinned me under, you lepidopterous killer of winged creatures. I have only returned to you to spread the wonder of my discoveries under your empty gaze. I feel not an inkling of shame in the blood rushing to the surface of my pride. All through this uncertain ride, I've learned the difference between naked and vulnerable. I am now undressing in your vestibules, dancing without your robes. You can no longer probe the fleshy parts of my assumed purity. Look at me. Look at me, Father. Look at these veins pulsing solid at my neck. Look at me and tell me, am I not beautiful? And I like to read this one to you because you are, since I'm here, I might as well read this one called Litany of Desires. And I don't know if you have had any forbidden love situations in the church. Have you? I mean, I've had love situations that were forbidden in like progressive spaces. That's how crazy my life was. I was telling my workshop earlier on that youth is the time for youth is a time for taking chances, for breaking bones, you know what I mean? Because there's time to heal. I feel like you should, just fucking just do it. I wish, I look at you now and I think, I'm so excited for their life to come. You know what I mean? You think? I'm so excited for you, you don't even know that the sex you're having now is not good sex. I mean, y'all are still trying to look good coming. I tell you a secret about coming. Don't tell nobody. People online, don't tell nobody either. If you are actually having an orgasm, it's not good look. It's nothing is sexy about it. There's nothing. If somebody took a shot of you in the moment and posted it, you'd be like, no, it's not me. It's never been me. It's never going to be me. I don't know her. Some doppelganger, just that's not me. So just don't be, you live in an unfortunate time where so much of you is being assessed, and it's a very subtle assessment. It's like how many likes you get for your coffee cup. You know what I mean? How many comments people make on something that you thought, oh my God, I had this really exciting moment, and then I post it, and then 3 people are like, you know, whereas if you were like really in relationship with people and then you were actually sharing with them, like when you tell your friend like, yo, I mean, like just today, me sharing with you, if I came off stage and be like, yo, Randall Peterkin just rang me, all of you would be like, no way. Because there is a certain kind of like presence, a certain kind of like reality that we just shared in like the face-to-face, you know what I mean? Which is like very different from strangers. Like I'm like, oh yeah, my old boyfriend from the 7th grade just called me. Isn't that cool? And people are like, yes. Because they're not invested in your life, you know? Right? Her body is a litany of desires. And I wrap her frail around my body, ribs striped and stretched towards healing, grotesque, beautiful. These sores, I carry them, sticky and heavy with exactitude. I flay the muscled sacrament with wine and water and bread and worship. I want you litany, like bleeding, like a fire fanned open, like my legs, insistent, like fate, like salt, like memory. Tell them to me, your stories, tender to the touch. This is what I have always wanted from you, the cracked edge of what has just begun to harden. I want you against time and revelation and beds too far away. I want you wanting me, clothed in the absolution of fangs and forks and fucks we shouldn't have. I want you buried in the belly of a blind belief, like Jonah, like Apostle, like Mary, like Joseph, like God. I want your spirit made flesh within me, frail and futile. I want to follow you, broken ground you, sound you hoarse from the flick of this foreign tongue, like mud and martyr and mornings without sun. I want to quiet you, like quick, like cunt, like hollow, like whole. I want to hold you holy, like prayer, like benediction, like intercession, like hallelujah, like hallelujah, like hallelujah, like amen. What do I read next? So this one I like to read just because it's cute, and I think like a lot of young people are here, and I like to read this because y'all need to have like an old person tell you this. Dear little black girl, I'm writing to you because I love you. I do not say these words lightly. I understand the responsibility one assumes when one says I love you to a little black girl. So yes, I'm saying I love you. Because I was once a little black girl myself, and I remember longing for someone to say I love you to me. And for a long time, no one did. So I say it now, just in case you don't hear it enough or at all. And because I am the mother of a little black girl to whom I say I love you so many times a day, she gets annoyed. And if you aren't hearing it, I hope you will one day find that kind of love in your life. And as my daughter often says, it's annoying, yes, mama, but it's cool. You probably already know that there are people in the world who would try to convince you that you are not amazing. Please fucking ignore them. They will say other mean things to you and about you because they are afraid of the magic power you carry in your beautiful black fist. They worry that you will open your hands and something so awesome will come out that they will have to take back all the lies they told you about your being less than beautiful or smart or capable of doing anything you dream for yourself. Remember this power, little black girl. Remember to open that fist sometimes. I imagine sometimes you watch TV and that you see all the Disney princesses with the long straight hair, with the blonde hair, with the red hair that doesn't quite look like yours. I imagine you see the handsome prince risking life and limb to save her. I imagine you wonder why the princess doesn't look like you, or why the one time the princess who kind of looked like you in a Disney film was a frog for most of the film. I imagine, like my daughter, you asked your mom or the other adult in your family or your caregiver when you were going to get your princess hair. I want to encourage you to ask a different kind of question. I want you to ask when that helpless white princess with all that hair will stop waiting for that prince to come and save her. When will she see how amazing and capable and smart she is? When will she realize that she can break her own chains, climb out of her own towers, slay those bloody dragons, and chart her own happily ever after all by herself? Remember that beauty is subjective, little black girl. And that means one person will think you unattractive while another will think you are the most beautiful person in the whole world. Remember that someone else's opinion doesn't make you less or more of anything. The only constant is what you think of yourself. If you think of yourself as stunningly beautiful, you will always remain that way. I bet you have dreams and aspirations about the life you will live when you are grown up. I bet you have all kinds of brilliant ideas about career and family and travel and love. I encourage you to keep a diary. Write down all your ideas, all your dreams, all your hopes about the future, even the ones you believe are impossible, especially the ones you believe are impossible. Then read books about people who did things that people said they couldn't do. Make sure that some of them look like you. Make sure you include many of the black women who were once little black girls that people told they couldn't do the things that they were intending. Find pictures of these amazing people. Keep these pictures in places where you will consistently bump into them. And every time you see a picture of Rosa Parks, or Serena Williams, or Venus Williams, or Toni Morrison, or Zora Neale Hurston, or Nanny of the Maroons, or Condoleezza Rice, or Shonda Rhimes, or Kerry Washington, or Viola Davis, or Angela Davis, or June Jordan, or Michelle Obama, or Winnie Mandela, or Melissa Harris Perry, or Grace Jones, you will be reminded that surpassing people's expectations is not just possible, but it is quite motherfucking common. I want to leave you with one last mandate. I want you to laugh as much as you can. Laughter will remain your salvation. Spend time doing things that tickle you. If you're lucky, laughter will come easy to you, but if you aren't, you have to practice the deliberate art of seeking joy. Surround yourself with people who find value in the warmth of your laughter. Build that shit into your day. Insist that the people you spend time with, the places you spend your time, cultivate your laughter. These are only some of the things I wish for you, my love. Love and the power to ignore those who cannot see your beauty. Eyes that will allow you to see your own brilliance. A plethora of dreams to drive a whole life's purpose. And a mandate of laughter to sustain you your whole life long. So I have one more poem to read for you. And then I don't know what's up next. Maybe you can ask me a question if you have a question. Or not. Don't feel pressured. And this one I wrote when I was quite young as well. Am I a feminist or a womanist? The student needs to know if I do men occasionally and primarily. Am I a lesbian? Tongue tied up in my cheek, I attempt to respond with some honesty. Well, this business of dykes and dykery, I tell her, is often messy. With social tensions as they are, you never quite know what you're getting. Girls who are only straight at night. Hardcore butchies be sporting dresses between 9 and 6 during the day. Sometimes he is a she, trapped by the limitations of our imagination. Primarily, I tell her, I am most concerned about women who are raped on college campuses, in cars, after poetry readings like this one, in bars, bruised lip and broken heart. Please forgive her if she cannot come forward with the truth immediately. For when she does, it is she who will stand trial as damaged goods. Everyone will say she asked for it. Dressed as she was, she must have wanted it. The words will knock about in her head. Horny, bitch, slut, tease, harlot, loose woman. Some people cannot handle a woman on the loose. You know those women in silk ties and pinstripe shirts. Those women in blood red stiletto heels and short pink skirts. These women make New York City the most interesting place. And while we're on that subject of diversity, Asia is not one big race. And there is no such country called the islands. And no, I am not from there. There are 100 ways to slip between the cracks of our not so credible cultural assumptions about race and religion. I mean, most people are surprised that my father is Chinese. Like there's some kind of preconditioned look for the half-Chinese lesbian poet who used to be Catholic but now believes in dreams. Let's keep it real, says the boy in the double X hooded sweatshirt. That blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus in the Vatican ain't right. That motherfucker was Jewish, not white. Christ was a Middle Eastern Rastaman who ate grapes in the company of prostitutes and drank wine more than he drank water. Born of the Spirit, the disciples loved him in the flesh. But the discourse is not on those who clearly identify as gay, lesbian, straight. The state always needs us to be a clear left or right. And those who exist somewhere in the middle get caught in the cross. And we fire away at the other side. Because if you are not for us, you must be against us. And when people get scared enough, they often pick a team. But be it for Buddha or Krishna or for Christ, I believe God is that place between belief and what you name it. I believe holy is what you do when there's nothing between your actions and your truth. The truth is, I'm afraid to draw black lines around me. I'm not always pale in the middle. I come in too many fucking flavors for one single spoon. Never one thing or the other. At night, I am everything I fear. Tears and sorrows, black windows, muffled screams. In the morning, I am all I ever wanted to be: rain and laughter, bare footprints, invisible seams, always without breath, without definition. I claim every single dawn for yesterday. Yesterday is simply what I was. And tomorrow, even that will be gone. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any... Huh? Cap. Yes. Is that the extent of the question? I listen to the audience a lot. And your poems make me think of the things that I struggled with when I was younger, or I don't know, like I think most times everything we do is really in conversation with each other, which is why I really dig being in the same room, whether the room is full or empty. You know, because when the room is empty, you get to have more intimate conversations, and when the room is full, you get to dance in chorus, you know? So I think it's so easy to just be, you know? And I sometimes wish I could like shut down the internet for you so that you could just kind of like have a moment when it's not so fucking like noisy on your like, you know, your self-esteem, you know? So just you could like, you could fuck up and it not mean anything and nobody has a camera in your face, you know? So come to the farm. And for those of you who are independently wealthy, please write me a check. Mend the Gap Inc. is the foundation that handles most of the stuff for Kindred. I also have a foundation that we're trying to help people to go back to their ancestral homes, whatever that means. And we're beginning with Jamaica. So you have like so many immigrants who left and never went back home, and therefore and maybe they have kids and they were never able to take the kids home. So we are just trying to. Kindred is a place for some people to land, and we also have like funds to we were raising funds to help people to come back home. There's so many people who have never really been to like the home their family's from, but like you were raised in that, and then you're caught up, you're kind of trapped in the narrative of what your parents left behind, when like the world is global, and so the people who are there now, the cousins that you might have there, they're like negotiating the same shit, just having the same struggles you're having here in the US, and you think, oh, you know, your whole life is the US, and the US is only like a very, very, very small part of that whole, you know? So, anyways. Any more questions? I don't know. That's like, oh, to go and do a show with? I don't know. Michelle Ndegeocello. Maybe Jill Scott. I was on tour with her one time, and it was like really amazing. She's like a phenomenal performer. I really like Pink. I mean, I was listening to her new album this morning, and it was like fly as fuck. Like, you know, she'd just be like, I love her because she don't give no two shits. And, you know, even though Rihanna not giving us no music, and Rihanna's like, fuck you, I don't care about what you want. I'm just going to live my life and be like just sexy and pregnant or not pregnant, or I'm just going to put on weight or lose weight. And all of you all just, I don't care what you think. I just love that shit. You know, I don't know, like, you know, I also love a lot of the writers. You know, I miss Octavia Butler. I feel quite sad that no more books will be coming from her. Like, I think, you know, Bell Hooks, June Jordan, you know, I love Rev Seku's music. I'm just like, I don't know. I think that it's like saying like if you had one meal left, what would you eat? It's like, motherfucker, I don't know. Like, you know, I like sushi, and I like, you know, pho, and I like, you know, Korean barbecue, and I really, really like Jamaican oxtail, and I like patties, and I like fucking, I don't know, like there's, you know, maybe not Italian I don't love so much, but I mean, you know, like there's so much food that if you told me that I had one meal left and I had to decide right now, I would just sit down and just cry, just like put my forehead on the floor and cry. So for me, it's just keep reading and keep, you know, imbibing the works of other people. I sometimes even listen to shit I don't like, because sometimes there's stuff in there that can like inform my creativity, like at least know what not to do. One last question. Or not. No, tomorrow I'm going to be at church. They're going to let me loose on the congregation tomorrow. So I'm going to be speaking to the church tomorrow. Hallelujah. Yeah, so I'm psyched about that. I'm also psyched to, like, you know, just, you know, say hello and hug you or sign your book if that's what you want. But, you know, I'm excited about your future and excited to see what you'll do and, like, what you'll come up with. Like, this is your world, you know? You know, all my fucking pubes are gray. Like, I'm on my way out. You know? So, like, you know, just get to it so you can, like, start prepping the way for my kid. You know what I mean? Peace.